We back, Coach. We back.
We back.
Let's give him a minute. Give him a minute. It's funny. They already in here making comments on the screen. We know the Rattlers are in the building. The Rattlers are already here.
Well, they here.
I think old Campbell stacking the deck on us. He's stacking the deck on us, man.
He got
all his Rattlers in here.
He been texting all his fans.
Actually, I did. That's the thing about it. Rattlers, we just everywhere. I didn't even get a chance to let the alumni pages even know that we were doing the show because I've been out. Like I said, right when you text me, I was driving. So, hey man, Rattlers show up, man. We show up and show out.
Yeah, we're gonna give him a few more seconds. Hey, Coach, you gotta get. Hey, don't let me forget to ask Mr. Campbell when we get started, give us that Rattler report. You know what I mean? Because we gotta have that Rattler report. They done had a real tumultuous offseason. And it's time to play football with all that things considered. I definitely want to hear what's the state of the Rattlers right now. I don't know that any team coming off a championship has had a more topsy-turvy kind of experience.
Oh, yeah. You know, that's the Rattler way.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in this evening. This is HBCU Coach's Corner, and it's hosted by none other than the SWAC legend himself, Johnnie Cole. But before we get started, like we always do, I just want to know, Coach, how you doing?
Man, doing good, Coach. Doing very, very well, man. Just anxious to get back, man, and had a great summer and, you know, done some visiting and jumping off of bridges in Martha's Vineyard and, you know, and about to start back school teaching the youngers and, you know, of course, unfortunate enough on the bad note that everybody heard, you know, about Jacoby Jones, who was really, really dear to my heart, you know, and matter of fact, I'll be headed down that way to New Orleans to his funeral. Besides that, Coach, man, I'm fired up and ready to go.
Hey, Coach, I know you were heartbroken about that situation with Jacoby Jones. You let us know very early, even before it hit the news. You reached out to us and let us know what had happened, man. I know you were devastated because of that. My condolences to you and Kobe Jones' family, man. It was truly a tragic situation, and I know how much he meant to you as a player and a friend. And so,
yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Being close to his mom and the family, you know, they gave me a call about it, and I was kind of shocked and surprised and you know, devastated, really. You know, kids so young, you know, but there's always some good to it, you know, and you know, maybe we'll talk about that a little later in the show.
All right. Hey, well, I guess next up we gotta let the Rattler himself. They was doing more than striking and striking again this offseason. None other than himself, Mr. Campbell, the Bishop, the detective.
Hey man, listen, we're here for another season. You know, people didn't think we were gonna make it, but we made it and people enjoyed it. So man, I'm excited to be just a person on the ground supporting Coach Cole and you, Rocky, and I think give another great perspective for all the people for the new year, man. We do it a little bit different on this show. We're not gonna cause too much trouble, but we will cause a ruckus. So there is a difference, okay? So absolutely.
Absolutely. And I have to ask you this, Mr. Campbell, before we go any further. Did you get a chance to enjoy that championship at all?
Hey man, I heard, and I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna call his name because I have so much respect. I heard BJ Jones on their show, and you know they do a great show, and saying that the Rattlers get a chance. Man, Rattlers are unbothered, bro. Listen, there's a reason why we say brag different. We don't care none about that. We are HBCU national champions. Guess what? Nobody else can say that but us. So yeah, man, I am super excited about that. I'm super about it because every time we talk about our football team, guess what people say? Celebration Bowl champion, HBCU national champion. So no matter what happened after that, put those titles before our name. So man, absolutely. And you know what that also does is allow us to go into the new season saying we are defending champions. Nobody else can say that either.
Wow. I think you wrote that down on a piece of paper.
Man, I told you I come prepared, Coach.
And Coach, let's just talk about without the championship, TSU also had a pretty tumultuous offseason as well.
Well,
they lost their what I would consider a star quarterback to a rival. They brought in what I would consider an inexperienced head coach to lead the program. There was some exodus from the program, some very good, notable players. You know, what's the feeling around TSU and Third Ward?
Well, you know, they're optimistic. You know, when you got a perennial program and you don't do things the right way, you know, we talked about on the show when it was going on about, you know, mid-season, they should have been looking for a coach, you know, and it took them 3 months. And not only did you bring a guy in here, and this is not nothing towards him personally, but you bring him in here, you know, a month later where you really don't get to recruit and he's not that experienced, you can't expect a whole lot. You know what I mean? The numbers don't add up. And when you have a program like that, and I'll say it, it's my school, you know, a perennial losing program, you got to bring somebody who has turned programs around, I think, you know, but hey, what does I think? I'm on the sideline. But yeah, it was a very, a lot of bad things was going on, a lot of bad decisions was going on with the decision of who's going to be our head coach. And, you know, now we got Chris Dishman, and that's where our support would go. We would go behind Coach Dishman.
All right, Coach. Hey, that's a pretty optimistic perspective considering what has been going on at TSU. Dishman was kind of the, you know, let's go back a little bit. You know, Fred McNair was the coach in waiting for the most part. And I thought it was pretty much a done deal. And all of a sudden he's no longer the coach. Coach McNair finds himself now as the tight ends coach at Southern, right?
Yeah.
He ended up, because he was going to take the TSU job, he ended up losing the job at Alcorn. And it's just so much going on. Has there, you know, and I'll ask both of you guys as SWAC historians and members of the SWAC, lifetime members of the SWAC, has there ever been a football offseason quite like this when you think of everything that occurred in its totality in the SWAC?
Let's make one thing clear, and Mr. Campbell, you can piggyback off of me. No, it hasn't been. And, you know, it's always been SWAC coaches coming in behind SWAC guys. You know, the only schools that don't have that is, quote unquote, your perennial loser schools. At the time, it was Prairie View who kept going outside. Texas Southern kept going outside. But when you look at, of course, we all know that Eddie Robinson stayed a long time. Maybe he stayed it too longer, but right behind him was a Grambling night. You know, same thing with Jackson State. You know, you had Harry Carson, and you know, right behind him, you had another Jackson State great. So those schools in you know, in Mississippi, Alcorn and Valley, you know, those guys stay within the conference, and I think that's one reason why, you know, they got solid programs today. You know, Southern University is kind of like the same way until they got away and went outside. And got my guy who was a running back coach, get my thinking cap on, but he didn't do very well at all, you know. So it's not like that. It hasn't been like that, but lately, that's some of the things that's been happening in our conference as far as choosing coaches.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell. What is your? Do you remember offseason quite like this?
No, not at all. Because, and Coach hit it. I mean, if anybody knows, the SWAC was known for coaching stability. The Giants, and you could know you knew who Southern's coach was going to be. You knew who Alcorn's coach was going to be. You knew who Mississippi Valley's coach, Jackson State, on and on and on. You knew who these people were, and even if they had a down season, they knew how to bounce back for a new season. Now, what we have is because we have more schools, and now the pressure has risen up because everybody wants a quick fix. And I'm gonna be honest with you, because I think I love that Deion Sanders came to the conference, but I also think Deion Sanders gave that magic quick fix that everybody thought, hey, let's just get a guy like that doesn't have any experience. He just got a lot of rah-rah, and then it'll work for our program. And, Coach, as you know, that you got to have coaches that know how to coach. You got to have coaches that know the program. You got to have coaches that know their footprint of recruiter, because the way Jack State recruit is totally different than how Southern recruit. The way Alcorn recruit is totally different how FAMU recruit, because of the schools and how, depending on where they're located and things like that. So now it's amazing because we got 6, 7 new first time coaches somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And everything, and so that level of uncertainty for teams, and we're talking about name teams. You talk about Southern, a name team. You talk about Grambling, a name team. You talk about FAMU, a name team. Those historic programs that you would never think that, hey, we got a coach that, again, people know Mickey Jones, but he didn't come from somewhere else and say, okay, I've laid my hat. I've won a championship at a lower level. Terrence Graves has been, again, respect to Coach Graves. He's been like Grambling. He's been there. But Terrence Graves has never laid his hat long enough to say, I own a program. I'm a champion. Coach Cozy, hey, great person. But, hey, he's a young guy. He's coming in. He got blessed by the football team. But we don't know. We don't know. I believe in Coach Cozy, but because of that, that's where you got it wide open.
Yeah. Well.
And you actually stole my thunder. The final point I was going to make about all the turmoil about the Deion Sanders coming in, creating a level of pressure that exists in the conference now that didn't exist prior to Deion. And you mentioned that. Has the pressure ratcheted up, or the impatience of the fans, or the combination of the two? The impatience of the fans creates the pressure.
Well, without it, I think social media has a lot to do with it too. We're more visual. All these programs are more visual. And thanks part to Deion as well. And the thing that he came in and won so fast and so quick. Yeah, I think the pressure is there. We all know that now that the athletic directors and the fans, they have that microwave attitude. I want it hot right now. So it has. But one thing about taking on a head coaching job, man, your job is to win, graduate kids and win in that order. Don't get it twisted. So I'm looking for an exciting year because we do have a lot of new faces in our conference. But usually Black college, just like any other conference, and y'all both can attest that they hire within. They hire a guy from have that Black college experience. And then, if you really want to look at it, being a Black college coach myself, when they do that and go outside, it takes jobs away from Black college graduates who decide to go to these HBCUs, who decide to want to be a coach and be able to come back either to their alma mater or coach in the conference.
All right, Coach. You bring up a great point. And this season, though it's been a lot of turmoil for a lot of different schools, a lot of different programs, been some talent acquisition, some movement, some player movement. It does not lack for excitement and energy when you look at the social media, you look at the schools. We had an opportunity to go out to Montgomery, Alabama, and we were at the Alabama A&M spring game. We saw the excitement and intensity that existed in that sport. So for that event, there's no lack of excitement and interest. And overall, before we move on to our predictions, what do you guys think about that? The excitement and intensity that exists anticipating this 2004 season.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Well, here's the thing. Usually when you come into the season SWAC, you usually know who is going to be one of the top two teams. Back in the day, you could just pick Jackson State and Grambling, just put them right there, 1-2, automatic. And everybody else fell in. Or if you saw where you had Valley that had a super team, say, you know what, this is their year, or Alcorn, this is their year. Or Houston Markham with Alabama State when they made their great run, Pete Richardson. But now you got to understand something. We got in the East 3 fan bases, 3 coaches, and 3 athletic directors that believe they can go to the Celebration Bowl. That's Jackson State, that's Florida A&M, and that's Alabama State. That has never happened to this point without, and I'm sitting back here thinking about that you've got that where I'm talking about, because again, you usually would know, hey, Grambling's a little bit better. If we can catch them, we beat it. Hey, Jack State is better if we catch them. Again, of course, they didn't lose. Alabama State was a little bit better. Southern, when they were on their streak, hell, let's even talk about Alcorn. You know what I'm saying? Just a few years ago, you know what I mean? Winning those and going to Celebration Bowls and things like that. They were the class of the conference. Now, what we look like, what we possibly will have this season is potential parity, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, and I think that's real good too. You make a good point, and it is one thing about the conference now since Deion has left and and Coach Simmons left from Florida A&M, and then now you have all these new guys coming in. You know, that does add some excitement. You know, it's like the trophy is not handed over. You know, you know, you really don't know. And not only that, you know, you got a bunch of coaches coaching for the first time or on their second year ever coaching, being a head coach. So that's exciting. I think that's good for the fan base.
And Coach, coming in last year, let me just revisit last year for a second. I think all three of us had FAMU as the favorite, and if Coach Simmons just kept the car in the middle of the street, FAMU's going to win the championship. That's what I felt like going into last year. I think all of pretty much everybody other than the Jackson State faithful pretty much knew what was going to happen in the SWAC last year. And of course, Willie Simmons and the Rattlers brought home the trophy. This year is a completely new year. And I want to ask you this here, Coach Cole. In 2010, when you won the championship of the SWAC, was it wide open, or were there some obvious favorites that you had to overcome?
Now, you know, when I took over Texas Southern, they were 4-40. They had only won 4 games in 4 years. And so my first year, you know, I struggled a little bit and went 4-7, you know, but I played some close games. Then the next year, I really kind of snuck on everybody. You know, I finished number 2, but I finished 5-2 and only lost to Prairie View and Grambling, who was the champions before I came into the conference. So yeah, you know, it was you know, I kind of walked up on everybody. We definitely wasn't the favorite. We definitely weren't even. We was like more or less in the middle of the pack, you know. But we had made some big strides, and you know, once again, it was at that time it was Grambling, Jackson State, because they had a hell of a quarterback, the white kid interior, and you know, of course, Prairie View was just coming off the championship in 2009. You know, so and then, you know, matter of fact, they beat us the first game, but we was able to put everything together and then wipe the table after that. So yeah, it was a surprise when I kind of jumped up. And you might get the same thing. You know, we can't sleep on Alcorn. You know, Coach said Thomas that we brought on the show, man. You know, I like him. I like his energy. I like his enthusiasm, and he also have been in the conference as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coach, I wanted to get that perspective before we went to y'all ready to go to the predictions, Coach?
We ready to go, Coach. We ready to go.
All right. I'll unveil my predictions first, then Coach, and then the Rattler himself will kind of explain his predictions. So first up, let me go ahead and go with mine. Okay. We'll come back to that. All right. We'll do the SWAC.
You want to do MEAC first?
Y'all want to go ahead and go over the MEAC first?
Let's get the MEAC out the way.
Okay. Okay. This is our MEAC predictions. I'm gonna pretty much explain mine first, guys. I thought Morgan State was a serious threat last year in Coach Damian Wilson's first season. I expect them to be better this year after the second year in his system. You know, a year of recruiting, that very young team, I expect them to be better. And with NCCU not having the trigger man they had before, South Carolina State with a new coach, and then literally with all that Howard lost, I see Morgan State winning it all, followed by NCCU, South Carolina State, Howard, Norfolk, and Delaware State. You go ahead, Coach.
Well, you know, I can't count Trey Oliver out. He can reload. He's already had 2 back-to-back great years. He was came down again to the last game of the year, ended up being upset and beat pretty bad by Howard. But, you know, I like coaches. I like coaches with good programs. I can't say enough about Damian Wilson over at Morgan State. I mean, you know, this is going into his second year. They played well. But I got Howard going back. You know, I like what they do over there. You know, they pound. They let the other team make mistakes. They don't make mistakes. I think they'll be solid again. Uh, uh, Next is South Carolina State, man. I love his energy. I love Coach Berry's energy, and when I looked at the stats last year, shoot, they were ranked pretty high. They were number 2 in offense in the MEAC, so and he's a hard-nosed defensive kind of guy, but also loves to control the game with the running game. So I like South Carolina State. Morgan State could be the sleeper. That's why I put them in number 4. They could be the sleeper. Norfolk and Delaware State, they could be 5 and 6. They won't go. Neither one of them will go higher than either 5 or 6.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Well, I think I'm going to follow Coach's lead. It looks like Coach and I have almost the same stuff for Morgan and South Carolina State. But I like North Carolina Central. And one of the things that, as I started to follow North Carolina Central, I like what Trey Oliver said. He said, listen, we're not going to be deep in the portal. We're going to develop players. And that level of continuity, I think, works for that team because he gets guys out of high school, they learn the system, and they build them up. They got 4 guys that's going to be on the all-conference first team, which is great. I think that brings back a lot of talent. Like you say, look at who's going to be the trigger man to replace Darius Richards. Then you got Howard. Hey, MEAC champs. But I think, once again, there's get back time for NCCU. And Howard lost a lot of players, lost a lot of playmakers. Still had a couple of guys on the all-conference team that I think they're going to be dependent on. And one of the ones that I was sitting up here, I was thinking about, and I believe that's Eden James. I think he's coming back, the running back. He's really electric. Casey Hawthorne, wide receiver. I think he's really electric. So, again, it always goes back to the guy with the quarterback. Morgan State is everybody's sleeper. We know the defense is going to be tough. We know they're going to be ready to rock and roll, but can they get their offense in gear? And I just looking at what they had brought in recruiting wise, I did not see the big splash that they needed to bring in as far as being ahead of NCCU or Howard. And then Dawson Odoms and Norfolk State. I think this is make or break for Coach Odoms up there. And I think if the season starts off rough playing FAMU, and then after that, I think he's in trouble. And then Delaware State is Delaware State, and I think they bring up the rear.
All right, Coach. Hey, anybody, I just believe, like, Damian Wilson really impressed me when he was at Bowie. And I didn't think he would have the kind of year he had in his first year at Morgan State. And so I just believe that he's on the uprise. What his system works in the MEAC, and it worked really well. He was just a few points away from actually winning the whole thing, both against Howard and NCCU. So I just believe that his team and his system will prevail this year. But
if you take a hard stance on defense winning championships. He finished number 1 in defense in the conference, only giving up 21 points a game, and that's pretty good. That's lower than the national average. So I take my hat off to him, but right now, you got to show me. I'm from St. Louis. You got to show me. But I won't be surprised. Let me say that. I won't be surprised because he is an outstanding young coach.
All right, guys, y'all ready to move on to unveil my predictions? Like I say, these are my predictions right here, guys, and I'll just go over them. Okay, in the West, I have Alcorn winning. I really wanted, y'all know my daughter will be a senior at PV next year. I really wanted to pick PV. It's a Texas team, but I could not pick them to win it all without knowing what their quarterback situation is. I just couldn't choose them without that. If they had an established quarterback, something I think I could have picked them, but I just couldn't. And really, in these last 4 teams, Coach, I just was going through trying to figure out who's the best of the worst. You understand? When you look at Grambling, Southern, UAPB, and Texas Southern, I was just looking for the best of the worst. I really don't expect much out of Grambling or Southern, for that matter. But I believe their program's in a better situation than UAPB and Texas Southern. So that's how I think Grambling ultimately is more talented than Southern. That's how I came up with that. And then I think UAPB has a more experienced coach than TSU, and so that's how I came up with that as well. So what do you guys think about that before I move on to the next?
I see you drinking that Alabama State Georgia juice. So
But
you
I ain't
know.
went on to the East yet. I ain't went to the East
Oh
yet.
well, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was just a thing that popped up.
Hey, that probably hurt his feelings to see Florida A&M at number 3.
Oh no, listen. Hey, we love that. We love sitting out there. That absolutely, we love it. I'm sorry, but yeah, you know, like I say again, Grambling is going to be interesting. You know, I mean, I think they're going to be a dark horse. The great thing about it is they don't have to play Jack State or FAMU in a conference game. They do play Jack State in a non-conference game. That helps them. Southern and Prairie View have to play FAMU as a conference game. Alcorn has to play Jack State as a conference game. So again, Grambling is sitting right there to take it based off the schedule.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll
and
go.
then out of that whole group, you know, Grambling got they do have the only returning quarterback. You know, he led the conference in passing, so but they weren't impressible numbers.
Alcorn quarterback returns. Alcorn's quarterback returns as well now.
Yeah. Well, they hopefully if they keep everything down the middle of the road and don't change anything, then he would just be as strong as well. You know, but when you get to changing and bringing in new offensive coordinators and all that kind of thing, you know, that kind of sets you back.
I agree, Coach. And I'm gonna go ahead and move to our East pick so we can get through this. We got Alabama State. I picked Alabama State. I went out and laid eyes on that team. They were a very impressive looking bunch. And I think they have, you know, one of the reasons why I gave them a nod, they have the most pivotal game, I think, of the season, which is October 5th in Montgomery. They have FAMU at home, and I just think that game right there will ultimately shape the outcome of the entire SWAC. And then Jackson State, I think they have FAMU at home as well. That's going to be two tough games, two tough losses that FAMU will experience. And that puts them a really good team at third place in the West. And Alabama A&M, I don't expect much out of those guys. Mississippi Valley, I think, you know, they're just a little better than Bethune, but we'll see how it turns out. Anybody have issue with any of those picks either?
Well, you know, I like Bama State, but I just don't see FAMU at number 3. You know, I gotta give them number 2, Coach. Even though they took a while to get the head coach, but they never stopped recruiting. You know, and I think they just load up. You know, sitting in Florida, you sitting on athletes. You ain't got to go far. So, you know, Jackson State, I would flip that. Bethune-Cookman, I think they had a hell of a recruiting year as well. I wouldn't put them down there with Valley. I would put A&M and Valley down there. You know, but I like Alabama State. Great defense last year, just couldn't get it going, and consistently on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, we're gonna go to your picks, Coach. There you go.
Okay, I got Alcorn. I like Coach Thomas, like I said before. Really, it ain't a big difference, but they just moved Coach McNair out and moved Cedric Thomas in. I think Coach Thomas has a whole lot more energy than Fred. Sometimes you can get in a place and get stale. But Alcorn always have been right up there every year. You know, they fell off last year, and I think with this shot of B12 with Coach Thomas, I think they'll come out and play. Prairie View is always going to be solid. Coach like to definitely run the ball, and you know, he don't make a lot of mistakes. So, you know, guys, coaches like that, they always going to stay somewhere in the middle and always look for that big mistake or big game where they win a close one. Coach, I have to be like you, Southern, Grambling, and UAPB and Texas Southern, man. I mean, you could put them in and I wouldn't put Texas Southern, but Southern, Grambling, you could put them in a jar, shake it up, and which one of them ever come out? You know, again, 2 different coaches. You know, Southern of course, Grambling has Southern's head coach, Coach Dooley, who knows everything about Southern, and Coach Graves is getting an opportunity to do some things. And, you know, it's good. It's good for the West. You know, it's going to be really, really a challenge over there. And you just really can't, you know, if you had 10 points to put on any one of them and say, this is a guarantee, you can't do that. You couldn't do that.
All right. Let me see if we have any comments in the chat about his West predictions. Coach, we have some people that's happy about you predicting Alcorn to win it all. You ready to go to the East, Coach, and explain yourself?
Go to the East. We put our eyes on Alabama State. All right. FAMU, anytime you go through some changes, and I don't know Coach Cozy that well to see, Coach Simmons left him a loaded gun. All he got to do is squeeze it. Sometimes guys got to get in there and want to put their, flavor in there. I don't know. I hadn't had any reports on him changing. If he kept things going in the middle of the road, they're going to be tough. Florida A&M is always going to be tough because of their recruiting area. They don't have to go far. Excuse me for a minute, guys. They don't have to go far. So, I got to give them their respect. You know what I'm saying? I got to give them their respect. So, Jackson State, a lot of changes down there. I don't like the fact that Coach said he's going to call his own plays now, but we'll see. I looked at his numbers at North Carolina Central. Everybody know Coach Mack was a part of that success in the coordinating. Coach T, I'll see where he at. I mean, he's on the clock. Again, I like Bethune-Cookman. I seen him against Alabama State. They've done a great job in off season. Again, they sitting on talent after talent down there in Florida. They played Alabama State tough. Seen that game as well. Alabama A&M is trouble in the camp down there. Coach don't switch his whole defense out, had switched his offense out. Lot of movement going on down there. Lot of movement. Of course, Mississippi Valley, bunch of high school coaches down there. They're trying to do it and get in there and build players. I don't think you could do that in Valley. I think you got to go the transfer portal to get some instant help and some instant success right off the top. But we'll see. That's my group, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. Next up, Mr. Campbell.
Okay, this is mine right here?
Yes.
Okay, I saw Coach Cole at the top.
Oh, my bad. I forgot to tell him. My bad.
That's okay. I'm gonna bring some
what you really saying is mine is gonna trump yours.
No. You see that orange? You see that orange, Coach? Mr. Campbell, I got the color right. I got the name wrong. So my bad.
I had to bring some sanity to these predictions. So we're gonna start off with the West. I've got Prairie View 1, Alcorn 2, Grambling 3, Southern 4, UAPB, and Texas Southern. Now here's the thing. Let me tell you guys, and I think what people really need to understand something about with Prairie View. Prairie View, every one of their big games is at home. They've got Grambling, of course, in Dallas. They've got Southern in Prairie View. Guess who they got? FAMU comes to Prairie View. Alcorn comes to Prairie View. That schedule is set up for them to win. And that's why I really like it. And then again, I think Coach Frederick, because again, I think he's going to come down there. I think they call it the gumbo offense down there with Coach Frederick. I think he's going to do some things. I heard that they got a quarterback that's coming from Houston that's going to be really talking, they're really excited about. I know a couple of people down there that know Coach McDowell from University of Miami. They talk to him. And this is what's crazy. He doesn't have the all-conference players, but from what people are telling me, he feels this is his most talented bunch, which is saying a lot. So the next thing, here we go. You got Alcorn. I think Coach Thomas is going to do an excellent job. I think what they bring back, I think Alcorn again. I think what hurts Alcorn is, again, that conference schedule where they play those games at. Again, I think Alcorn plays Southern for their homecoming. I think that hurts them. They've got to go on the road. They got to play Prairie View. Grambling is my sleeper pick because, again, you've got a quarterback, a returning quarterback, preseason offensive conference player of the year, Miles Crawley. Quarterbacks win championships in the SWAC. Now, the question is, did Grambling do enough recruiting to put them around? And also, and everybody knows, Grambling is known for one thing. That G is known for defense. So the question is, would Grambling's defense hold up to allow when the offense scores? So that's what I'm really curious to see about that. Southern, I picked Southern fourth, and the reason why I picked, I just have not heard or seen from the recruiting side of Southern of what I really believe Southern can be. I think this is a transition time. I think Southern is, again, trying to figure out with Noah Body, could he be the quarterback for them? And, of course, we're finishing up with UAPB and Texas Southern. I think UAPB, again, is just one of those things. They'll get a win. I think they play Valley. They play Texas Southern. They get those two. And then Texas, I think they're just in transition. Even though they have, which is interesting, they have the second team all SWAC quarterback, but they lost a lot of pieces off that team. They lost a lot of pieces off that team. So, so there you go. So now on to the East, which I think is pretty obvious. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I really have.
Obvious you gonna pick.
Well, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be, and I've said this on out loud. I've got FAMU and Jackson State really 1 and 1A. I think that Jackson State and FAMU has recruited. I think they have a level of consistency between coaches and players that game on 10-19-24 is going to be for the SWAC championship. I really believe that. Alabama State, I have them third. I love Andrew. I think Andrew is going to be healthy, which is very important, but they lost playmakers. And another thing too, Alabama, like Prairie View, has the schedule set up for them because FAMU comes to Alabama State, and so does Jackson State. But here's the problem. FAMU or Jackson State are scared to go up there and get a W. And I think that's where the pressure comes in at, because now Alabama State has to take that death march that FAMU and Jackson State both had to do the last 3 years. And that is a lot of pressure, because that means you've got to win game in, game out. And the difference is when you had the Jackson State team, that team had been together. You had a coach that had been there. You had a quarterback been there. The FAMU team, Musa had been there for 2 years. We had a bunch of seniors. We had a bunch of playmakers, guys that had been there. So the pressure, we understood what the pressure was. So when we had those close games, those seniors stood up. Again, you saw it in the Celebration Bowl. You saw Musa make the big play. You saw Isaiah Mays make the big play. Kelvin Dean make the big play. So when you have players that have come back, that's what you have. Now, look at Jackson State. You got Jacobian Morgan. And can we talk about one of the biggest, I mean, there's a crowd report that Herb Mulligan is not on the SWAC all-conference team. That is unfathomable. That makes no sense. Even Rico Powers. So you're talking about Jackson State, 2 wide receivers, a quarterback coming back, and a running back. Hey, man, that's going to be an explosive offense. The thing that I think has been a little bit overrated, and I would like to see, and we'll see with Jackson State the first 2 games, is what is their defense going to do? Is it going to be that big blue wrecking crew, big blue Bengal wrecking crew like they've always been, or are they going to have to grow into those games? Now, the good thing about with FAMU or with Jackson State is, again, they play FAMU in the middle of the season, October, and then they play Alabama State a couple of weeks after that. So, again, it's going to allow that team to progress and learn each other. So I'm really excited about that. Now, Bethune-Cookman is my sleeper team. This is my sleeper team. I think people got to understand something, Coach. Like you said, Coach Wood is recruiting Florida boys, man, and he's getting a lot of them. And I'm telling you, I think they gave, and I think all my Jackson State people know this, they gave Jackson State hell with no offense. That defense only got better. So the question is, did Coach Woody get where his offense can give him enough? The big game for them, again, other than the FAMU game, they play Jackson State homecoming. That will tell what Bethune-Cookman sees it. If they can get that W, then they set themselves up very well to play for an East Championship against FAMU. Then, of course, Alabama A&M, get the moving trucks ready. I think I think that they do not have what they need. I think Xavier Langford comes back at quarterback, but I do not see the consistency on defense that Coach Maynard has put together. And I just honestly believe the 4 teams above them are just much more talented. And then Mississippi Valley is Mississippi Valley.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to let Scotty know I mislabeled this slide. This particular slide is, if you notice the orange, it is FAMU orange. This slide actually belongs to Mr. Campbell. So I apologize again, Mr. Campbell, for mislabeling this slide. So
no, that's okay. That's okay. Listen, the information is, I'm gonna stand on, like I say, the 2 things I'm gonna stand on, and I'm firm on this. Jackson State wanted FAMU and Jackson State 1 and 2. Prairie View because of their schedule, and Grambling being that sleeper team.
All right, that's great. So we're gonna kind of compare the picks here. We just gonna compare them. We're gonna look at them, see what they looks like. I think, I try to look at the commonality. I look at the bright side, the things we do agree on. I think we agree that Alcorn and Prairie View are the top 2 teams, no doubt. And we believe that the next level of team is Grambling Southern, and then UAPB and Texas Southern bring up the rear. I think, there's really not much we disagree about other than who will win it in the West.
you know, the West it's tough. It's tough. You got new coaches. You got teams that ain't really won a lot. You know, you didn't hear a whole bunch of exciting things on the off season. You know, about what was going on. You know, so it's tough. You know what I mean? It's almost like scrambled eggs. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. I look forward to seeing and at least, guys, that the conference. You know when Dion was there, we knew by the first 4 or 5 games who gonna play in the championship. You know what I mean? And especially with Florida A&M and Jackson State opening up. You know, when one of them, whoever win, going and we knew it then. You know what I mean? Because we wasn't worried about the West side. But you know, it's interesting, and I think fan base wise, I think it'll be exciting this year.
All right, this is our East predictions compared to one another. You can see we you know this is where we kind of agree with on the top 3 teams. What do you see, Mr. Campbell, in analyzing these picks?
Well, here's the thing. I think that you all underestimating FAMU. I think FAMU, Coach Colsey said what he was looking for every player that he left, he looked for a player that complement that style of play. We brought in 27 FBS transfers. We're going to have a talented bunch that's going to come back. I've heard the practices have been great. And here's the thing about our quarterback situation. And people say FAMU doesn't have a quarterback. But we do have a quarterback that's been in the system 4 years. And Coach Cole, you know this. If you've got a guy that knows all the plays, that gives you a tremendous advantage. So while we don't need Junior to be, again, to a level of Musa, if Junior comes in and plays between Rashawn McKay and Sunshine, hey, man, that means keep the train on the track, get first downs, let the playmakers make the plays. FAMU's going to be dangerous. I like what you guys like Alabama State. I understand why you like it. Again, I'm just a big believer that when you're going on championship marches, you got to know what that means. And I can't say anybody on Alabama State team says, hey, we know what this means. Bubba's gone, so who's the guy on defense that's going to say that? Andrew is there new. Andrew is learning these guys. Andrew's got to figure his way out. So, again, while there might be talent, but, again, and this is another thing, too, with Alabama State. Not to say it'll happen this year, but they lost to Miles Collins last year. That's what I'm talking about, intestinal fortitude of toughness. So, again, do they have that? I know Jackson State has that. And
Did Steve kind of freeze?
Yeah. He kind of freezed over here.
We froze him because he started talking all that Google Gaga. And we knew he was going to be talking about FAMU. And talking about Jackson State, Andrew Body. It's just like they were making that reason why Caitlin Clark couldn't be on the USA team. And you just seen what happened. You know, the WNBA whooped that tail. You know what I'm saying? All that chemistry and all that.
Hey, Steve, you want to finish what you were saying? You were saying something. You were trying to make the case.
Well, I'm just saying, when we're talking about teams, and I believe chemistry and experience means something when you have gone on championship runs. And what I was saying was, who's the guy on the defense that Alabama's going to be able to say? Bubba left, their leader left. Who's the guy that's going to step up in that position? Then the same thing on offense. Andrew, while talented, is new. He's learning those guys. Again, Jack State has a quarterback that's been in the system. You got Junior, who's been in the system, that knows these guys.
But it's a new system in Alabama State as well. You know,
which again, see, so Coach, you even proved my point more. So now we've got a new system that we don't know if it's going to work until we see if it works. We want it to work.
Well, let me say this, Mr. Campbell, and this is what I look at FAMU. What is Willie worth is what it boils down to me. And in no games that I saw, especially the big games, Willie was worth a lot. Willie meant a lot. And I just can't see you guys being in those situations, needing a play, needing to have a play. And when you guys no longer have Willie to dial it up, whether it was in the championship game or whether it was again in a big play against Alabama State, when you don't have Willie to dial it up, then what?
Well, what I'll say is Coach Henry will say, I've been with Coach Simmons since he was at Prairie View. I have coached at the Power 5 level. I know this offense. I can run this offense. I can make these plays. I mean, that's what he's going to say. Now, you might not agree with that, but that will be my answer to that. That we have an offensive coordinator that has.
Guy. We have
the continuity. See, that's what I'm saying, which I think is important. We have the level of continuity, which is important.
Well, I wasn't real impressed with Musa last year. So this guy coming behind him might be the guy. I thought Musa gave games away. You know what I mean? But there was so much talent around him that they could overcome it. You know, and they were good. They were good, pretty good on defense. You know, because Musa turned that ball over. But it's a different ball game when you get a different flavor head coach in there and things. It's just you know, it's interesting to see how close they're gonna leave it to the vest of what they did when Simmons was there. You know what I mean? But I'll say this, Coach Campbell, it ain't nothing like a play caller. And Willie Simmons was a play caller. Everybody can't do that. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So let me address this. Because I think this is where people try to understate the impact or the impact of a player, and they forget what happened on the field with that player. You understand what I'm saying? And I believe Zoe is talking about Andrew Bott, right? If I'm wrong, correct me, Zoe. Andrew Body, yes, he won 9 games in 3 years. But if you watch the games, whether it be Jackson State, Alabama A&M, Rice, whomever, when you watch the games, right, you know what Andrew Body is. If you didn't watch the games, maybe you can decide whether you can try to sum him up in wins and losses. But if you watch the games, you know that the impact that Andrew Body had on the game.
You know, I kind of buy what he says, but I think that Andrew Body is a different kid. To know the kid and to meet the kid, you understand that this kid is a winner. I think it was unfair to him. I think he played from behind all the time. I didn't think he had the structure of the teaching because I'm going to talk about 2 games. The last game of the year in 22 and the first game of the year in 23. The coaches made the same mistake. Alabama A&M, they win the game, they go represent the West. They up 17 points, and this kid drops back and scrambles out. Instead of thinking in his mind or being coach in his coaching, look, we up 17. We're in the 4th quarter. We scoring ain't important. Controlling the ball and the clock is important. Get down. He goes and try to get 1-inch line, dive, guy separates his shoulder. Of course, they don't have nobody behind him. Open up Prairie View game. The kid comes back off the injury. They up 14 points in the second half. They ran the ball 2 times. In the first half, they rushed the ball and they were averaging 10 yards a carry, Rock. 10 yards a carry. And you throw the ball 30 times and he coming off a shoulder injury.
And had the guy on their team that led the SWAC in rushing.
And one of the top rushers in the nation. And you don't give him the ball, Coach Campbell. And then you got this kid just throwing. That's not that kid's fault. Or if he was doing things that you should have took him out. If he was out there cowboying it, you should have taken him out the game. But he just didn't get coached. I feel good about the coordinator there now at Alabama State. I had a chance to talk to him during the spring game. Called up a couple of my friends. He's come from come from under Broadway, Trey Oliver. You know, all of them gave him his stamp of approval. So I looked for that kid, and you've seen him this spring. You know, he worked his ass off. Shit, he chiseled up. His personality is second to none. And the kids are rallying behind him. And you know, what you believe in, Coach, and what my man says, yeah, it's true statement too. And all this is opinionated. But I think this kid is special. I think this one is special because he can extend plays. He could change the game. He could put the team on his back if he need to. They got some great players around him now. Don't be surprised. They got some great. And what I did also like about the program, shit, Coach, what they had about 90 players during the spring, 90 football players during the spring. That's a lot. That shows that program is on the uprising. So that's kind of was my spiel that I think they stumbled both years. They stumbled just like Florida A&M did to Jackson State, then finally got it. Now I think Alabama State fumbled. Now Willie Simmons is gone. I think it's time for Eddie Robinson Jr. to win the championship.
Well, Coach, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Coach Robinson. He's Class 88 brother. Watched him come in as I was a freshman at FAMU. He was a freshman at Alabama State. Saw him do great things. Here's what I will say in defense of Alabama State. Why I see why people have and I believe I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. I think they've got 5 guys on the first or second team all defense. I think they got the most out of everybody, any team. So I think that is the one thing that we do know. Coach Robinson Jr. knows how to coach defense. Yeah. So I think that does help them. I think it does help them that they got the 2 games that they need to have at home. But Coach, the only thing that I'm just going to say that just watching this conference and just when watching teams making a championship run, it just kind of concerns me that this team was put together so quick. And will they really need to understand what it takes to, again, homecoming, everybody, FAMU's coming in there because this will be the time. FAMU, hey, we got to knock FAMU off. This will be their first loss other than Jack State and somebody in the conference. That's pressure on them. We're coming in to play loose. Jackson State comes in. What if Jackson State has ran the table? And now Jackson State, big bad Jackson State coming in. We got to beat Jackson State. That's a lot of pressure. And that's why I have not seen that. Alabama State has not answered that bell yet. We'll find out this year.
Hey, caller, you're live on the air. Wait, Coach Cole. Hey, man, you got to turn your sound down in the background, bro.
You know what?
Turn your sound down in the background.
All right. Hey, caller, you live on the air.
What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Rashad.
Okay, go ahead, Rashad.
Clemens. I don't think y'all know what y'all talking about with Alabama A&M.
Oh, okay. All right, tell us what we don't know.
We pre-season. You see how much stuff we got on offense? Pre-season all SWAC. And y'all see what? Come on now. Can't sleep on the Bulldogs.
I mean, what's the colors say?
Okay. Let me ask you this: what have you seen the last 2 seasons from Cornell Maynard and the Alabama A&M Bulldogs that makes you think they're going to be any better this year than they were the previous 2 years?
And Coach, let's add this though. Let's add this, Coach. Let's add this. They got a whole new defensive staff. They don't change the defensive coordinator and the other coaches. And they always been bad on defense. Always. So what makes you gonna come out with a brand new defense?
Coach Cole.
Yeah.
No, I feel like they're gonna have a good defense too. Like they got some boys up there. Y'all saw the DB.
Okay.
He's preseason All-American too.
At Alabama A&M?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see him. That's hey, Coach, our phones are lighting up. We're gonna go to the next caller.
Yeah, I was gonna say I keep getting the green.
Hey, caller, you're live on the air with HBCU Coach's Corner.
How you doing, Coach?
Who am I speaking with?
This is Big Body, Andrew Body's father.
Big Body. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Rick, man, good to hear from you.
I've been sitting back listening to a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I'm not one to come out and speak and say or whatever. But let's deal with this injury prone deal. Injury prone is a person that you would say You don't know when he's going to get hurt because he always hurt. My son started playing ball at 5.
Hey, Rick, can you turn the sound down in the back? Hold up, Rick. Can you turn the sound down in the back? Because we hear the echo, bro.
Can you hear me now?
You sound fine now, Rick.
Okay. We talk about injury prone. And I sat back, you know, that's my son. I know what's going on with him 24/7. So he never been injured until he got hurt the last game of the Alabama A&M game. He started the third game when he was a true freshman. And he played for real. Look at his stats. Look at his play. Now, his sophomore year, we said, well, he got knocked off, whatever the case may be. I get it. But when you got defensive guys coming over to play receiver and you got walk-ons playing receiver, it's practically impossible. And then you got the 12th or the 11th ranked defense. Help me figure this out. He never had a defense. So every time he hit the field, we got to score or we not going to get it. So tell me another quarterback in the SWAC that has over 13,000 yards in high school. They just redid the deal at Dave Campbell's magazine. They moved him from number 3 to number 2 in the state of Texas. He's ranked number 6 in touchdowns. He threw over 100 and some touchdowns. He came into this thing, yeah, he's dedicated and he's loyal. I give it to him. It took a lot for me to talk to my son, to get him to see a different side of the picture. Now he's at Alabama State. He's got help. He ain't got to sit up and wonder how I'm going to do this and be setting up stressing. I've been there. I've seen the players there. We talk about, oh, he don't have no receivers. I'm looking at 6'5", 6'4", 6'3" receivers all over the place. We say he don't have no running backs. The running back that was pushing the whole load got hurt half of the season. He's back. LJ still there. They still got a whole stable of running backs. We say defense. Come on now. Go out there before everybody go running with Alabama State this and Alabama State that. Go look at their practice. It's open.
Now, Coach,
but I promise you, this year,
Mr. Body, what podcast you been listening to? Cause shoot, we
man, you know,
Alabama State.
No, he been listening to. He ain't listening to us. He not listening to us. No.
You rapping.
Number one is this. Check this out. We all had a powwow about we didn't get nobody drafted in the HBCUs. But flip this over. We beating up all our guys. Every time you turn around, this guy's crap. But when no one get drafted, we sitting up here saying what's going on with the HBCUs. Our job is to undergird these kids, let them know that they got people that's going to have their back no matter what. Because they're not getting paid big money, and they putting their life on the line every weekend. And we setting up bashing them for trying. To me, that's just ridiculous to me. My son got a big following, and he got parents that's going to be there no matter what. Good, bad, uncomfortable, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I'm like this. If you back up somebody and you say, this is my boy, then do it with the good and the bad. Don't just pick and choose your fight. If you say, I'm an Andrew Body fan, then be an Andrew Body fan. But don't get on different shows being different people. Be real all the time.
Well, let's make sure, Mr. Body, because you talking to all that this show we don't bash coaches and we don't bash players.
Oh no. Y'all show. I love y'all show. I tell you this all the time, Coach.
Yeah.
And me and you, Coach Cole, and Rocky, we talk a lot off the air. So we got a different relationship. And I try to build that with anyone. I don't get on this thing for hate. I don't get on that for anything. I try to promote every school. I got friends at every school in the SWAC, and I talk to them religiously every week. I know what's going on. They talk to me, and we don't have to call each other out of our name. My name's Rick at all times, and whoever I talk to, that's their name. Right. But at the end of the day, if you say you're a football guy, this is what's confusing to me. If you say you're a football guy, you can't sit up here and try to look at something that's not happening. Right. Tell the truth and just say, look, this is what's happening. If your team didn't do good, they didn't do good. But you can't keep pushing the every time you turn around, you're moving the goalposts. And you can't do that.
Well, Rick, let me speak to you, Rick, because I think sometimes, and I'm a parent. I think all of us on here are parents. And when it comes to our children, we did tend to take things a little more personal than usual. And this is what I'll say, Rick. Andrew is a person that if you watch the game, if you watch TSU games, the 2 years that he played, you'll understand what Andrew is. If you didn't watch Andrew play, you're gonna form an opinion about him based on the outcome of those games. You understand what I'm saying? So those of us who laid eyes, believe me, there's a reason why Eddie Robinson made Andrew his number one priority once the season was over. There's a reason why a number of schools were looking for Andrew Body. There's a reason why Trey Oliver on this show was taking your wife's number down, trying to find out what your wife's number down was the game before he was supposed to play Howard last year. That's the facts. If you didn't watch the games, you ain't doing nothing but talking junk about Andrew Body. That's all you doing. Because
player for that matter.
Huh?
For any player for that matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think a lot of this, coach, is people talking trash. They're doing a good job of getting up under your skin, obviously. And I think we have to understand that not all of these people are football people. They just like talking junk about TSU and any other school other than their school. And Mr. Campbell, I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of that this past offseason, and even though your school has won a championship, you end up having to deal with it just by people on the sideline who didn't have a chance of beating FAMU this past year. They've threw slugs at you and FAMU undeservingly as well.
Well, I just want to say this, and I think, Rick, you know all of us, we've all talked to you. We all admire your son. And first of all, you got two people that picked Alabama State to win the East. I'm the only one that didn't. And I told you, and I want to be clear, I never said it was the skill set of your son. I said it's because of the foundation of the program. That's a lot of moving pieces to make that mark. It has nothing to do with the skill set. Because what I said was your son and somebody on defense is going to have to figure that out. What I said was, because I want to be clear, because I understand that, because, you know, a lot of times on social media, we get in these chats and people say things and riff off and stuff like that. But what I will say, I think what we do a really good job. I talk football. I don't talk people. And what I'm talking about personal. I talk what I've seen. I talk about what I've talked to. So what my thing is, my prediction, I still stand on what I said, is I know the talent that FAMU brings back. I know they know what to do to win a championship, and they've won 9 games for 4 straight years. That means something. I know that Jackson State has players that have played in the Celebration Bowl. I know they have a returning quarterback and a dynamic offense. That is not a criticism against Alabama State. That is just what I see. Now, what I said was, again, I believe that continuity does mean something. What I said was Alabama State, which I believe has the schedule set up for them to win the East. They do. FAMU comes there. If you want to win the homecoming, you got one game to beat, and that Jack State comes. That's set up for you guys. But for me, I've got to see it, because what I've seen as far as consistency, and this goes back to Alcorn. Again, I was with those Grambling teams every weekend because I was sponsoring Grambling. I have seen for the last 10 years, it's consistency that has won championships in the SWAC. We don't have fly-by-night champions in the SWAC over the last 10 years. And I'm just telling you that. So this is not me criticizing. This is kind of understand what the conference is. There is something about building something. And
I get that. I get that. I get that. But at the end of the day, this is what it is. We live on this thing where I've been 9-3, I've been 10-1, and We got this pedigree, this and that. Okay, I get it. You can have a guy running 9.8 for 3 years in a row. Things happen. He don't run 9.8 no more. He running maybe a 10.8. What happened with FAMU, we try to brush on the rug like it's not that important, but it's really important because even though y'all had Willie, y'all was still in a lot of dog fights last year. And Willie was able to dial that number and bail it out. I give Willie that. And that's one of the reasons that me and Andrew, we looked at Willie. Great guy. And I'll never say nothing bad about it or FAMU. But all I'm saying is, let's let the season start. Everybody jumping on, oh, he won 9 games. Well, y'all don't know the journey. Because if y'all knew the journey, the 9 games wouldn't even be mentioned. 9 games ain't got nothing to do with a skill set. 9 games ain't got nothing to do with what you're going to put on a table. But at the end of the day, the redemption year is this year. And I promise you, all the ones, I'm keeping receipts. I promise you, it's going to be a different year because why? He got help. And he got a fan base that loves football. I'm done with the conversation. I just said it. When I come to y'all towns when we play and I leave, trust me, I mean barbecue and whatever else. And I'm going to say, I wish you luck next game. I love y'all guys.
Hey, I see you in Miami, baby.
Hey, save me some of that barbecue too.
You know, again, so I want to say this, man, and I know you guys are lifelong SWAC guys or whatever, but I think sometimes we forget when we say things about people that those are human beings. Those people have families that care about them and love them. So when we evaluating them as players and saying this and that about them, let's always remember that there are families and people that love those guys and people that have put a lot of effort and hard work into raising those guys and allowing them to play on the field each and every Saturday. And so with that being said, I think Mr. Campbell said it best. You know, our show is a little different over here in that we try to keep it football and not make it personal.
And that's what and that's real. I want to just say something and why when you guys told me, hey, to be the third wheel, and I appreciate it. But what I like, we have a coach who actually won a SWAC championship that can talk X's and O's and things like that. And I think, again, what we're trying to do, again, it's the preseason. Nobody knows. This is what's great. This is the dog days of summer. We're all excited and things like that. Everybody, again, there's one quarterback that or team can say, you know what, we feel pretty confident in what we got, I'm assuming. And because he's preseason, all SWAC. That's Miles, Crawley, and Grambling. Everybody else, again, there's positives and there's negatives. Again, Jackson State can look at Jacoby and Morgan. But what people say is, well, the games that he won, those were the 3 worst teams in the conference. I hear it from FAMU. Junior can't play. Junior been in the program 4 years. So again, we all have that and things like that. Now, what I will say, and people know this, and I've gone on all these shows, I'm not about to talk about negative about anybody because I'm gonna say this, and this is me on my stump once again. And Coach Cole, you understand this, and Rock, you understand it, right? When I was in school, we did not have YouTube. I had to listen to Florida State football, and them white people talking about Florida State. When I was in Jackson and I was growing up in high school and whatever that sports talk, all I heard was Ole Miss, Mississippi State, when Jackson State was the best program in the state. So the fact that we are able to come together as people and talk about our conference, our schools, our players, that is the positive. Now, I understand there's a little bit of negativity and all that, but I will say again, I think the analysis that the person made, I don't think, because I know who he's talking about, and that's my nephew. Like I said, it's no secret who made the comment. But I think, again, I want
not
everybody.
On this show.
Yeah. We're not on this show, but exactly. But I want to be clear on something: is that this show we're talking football, not personalities.
Hey guys, we got a caller that wants to come in and talk to Coach. Caller, you're live on the air.
Okay, I did listen to Mr. Biden, right? And this is and what? Okay.
What's your name and where you calling from, brother? What's your name and where you calling from?
I'm TJ, man. I'm calling from Mississippi.
Go ahead. TJ from the SIP.
Okay, see, yeah, man. So what Mr. Biden ain't understanding, it's not bashing. We're not saying this because we trying to blemish Andrew's name or downplay him as a player. It's just that he have to understand that we're not knocking his talent, but we just haven't seen it. We haven't just seen him in a complete full whole season to give him that hype. And like you know what I'm saying? And like everybody's saying, we like, okay, Alabama State, they known for having a defense, but with Andrew coming over, like, what is, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's such the hype about? And that's not to knock him, because they don't do anything on offense. They don't do anything on offense. They don't even have an offense.
Who don't do anything? Alabama State? Is that who you talking
He said,
about?
well, now?
Alabama State don't.
Yeah, I'm
do
talking about
nothing
Alabama State. Yeah.
Are you aware
Yes,
that they got a new offensive staff?
I mean, yeah, I'm aware of it, but they have to come out and prove it.
You know the backup. You know the where the offense coordinator came from.
I mean, they can come from anywhere. You still have to come out and show it. We haven't seen it, so we don't know. I mean, you can get.
Just like you make an assessment of body that you ain't seen, and why I can't make an assessment of a coordinator that was good from where he came from? Because that's all we have.
I mean, it's a lot,
right?
And I think, and let me say this, TJ. All three of us went to the Alabama State spring game. We couldn't stream the game live. We couldn't show people what we saw, but I can attest to Mr. Campbell he probably would be biased for FAMU, but I'll let you tell him what we saw as far as a passing exhibition by Andrew Bott.
Yeah, listen, I think here's the thing. For us, there's no criticism of Andrew. Yes. Andrew can play. Andrew would have been all SWAC if they didn't have this silly injury rule. He was preaching. We know that he can play. What again? And this is what I'm talking about. When Rocky picked his team and Coach Cole picked it, and I picked mine, we picked it based off of the totality of the team and what we saw. I'm saying what I saw with FAMU, and the reason why I'm picking FAMU Jack State is because of the recruits and the depth that we have. Jack State has depth. FAMU, I don't think Alabama State has the depth. Now, do they have the better quarterback? We'll see. Right. So that's my thing with that. So I guess when we look at this and what Coach Cole is saying is they've got a new offensive coordinator. See, there's a lot of variables that we as fans and even people that are in the media and stuff like that, we don't know. I can tell you what I've heard about for FAMU, but I don't know. But I'm telling you what I heard. I heard we got one of the fastest. And then to Rocky's point, we saw Alabama State. There's talent on that team. There's no doubt about it. That team is talented. So absolutely.
It goes deeper than that. Just evaluating body off the field, evaluating his play at Texas Southern. And he did carry the team.
You saw every game, Coach.
Yeah, just about every game. He did carry the team on his back. But when you always playing from behind, it's not really necessarily fair to the kid. And then, when he don't get better the next year, and then meeting the kid and know how hard this kid work on the off season and know what the players think about. So we go, as a coach, you go a little more in depth than just the surface of he play on a bad team, he ain't won no games. And let me say, it's some truth to that. And me and Rocky, we talked about that. That he is got that cool QB symbol, and he only got 9 wins in all those games. But then when you look at the whole spiel, the whole picture, you can't have television. He always was playing from behind. I mean, the first year he got in there, the defense was giving up 50 a game in college. Then they went down the next year to about 40. So it's a lot of variables, like Coach Campbell was saying.
Coach, I'd even say this. I watched the game. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was TSU and Jackson State when Jackson State was clearly the best team in the conference. And for my opinion, for at least a half against Shedeur Sanders, Andrew Body was the best quarterback on the field, hands down.
He gave me
And I give and I give him that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Now the best game because I'm a Jackson State fan too, and I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that.
I think he got the potential. I think the offensive coordinator, Coach Barnett, I know his background. He come from, Rod Broadway, Trey Oliver, these greats. And I think what he's gonna give Body to do, and Body ain't got to put the team on his back. They ain't gonna be playing from behind a lot. I hope they talk about situations as a quarterback and an offensive coordinator to make sure that he's managing the game on the field. All that got to go in, and I think Coach Barnett can give him those tools.
And Coach, you pointed out some things. Me and you watched some film of Andrew Body together.
Yeah.
And Coach, you watched it, and you taught me a lot in that little film session we had. It was that it's not, you were like, the situation, the play they called and the situation they called it in let you know that the coaches were not coaching.
Right.
You understand?
It was almost, I watched them enough to see that after every big play, they're going to come back and throw a hitch. You got to get a defense. You know what I mean? At times they should run the football. They pass the football. And I'll be honest, a lot of people say, stuff about that Andre, he could throw the deep ball, but he has problems throwing the short ball. You know what I mean? But when you always playing from behind and everybody in the stadium know that you got to throw the football,
yeah,
that's not fair to the kid.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Mr. Sutton.
Rocky had to take that personal call. Is the caller still on?
Yeah. Is the caller still on?
Okay, I guess not. I wanted to ask him a question.
Yeah. The caller. Yo, hold on. I'm gonna swap. I'm gonna swap back to the caller. TJ, you right there, baby? All right, hold on. Let me get you on. TJ. Go ahead, TJ. TJ's still on. We got another call on the line as well.
Okay, well that's fine. Yeah, I think TJ got what he wanted to answer. I'm fine with it. Let's go. Let's go to the next call.
No, I got one.
Go. You're gonna have to call back, TJ. Give us a few minutes with Mr. Sargent. Mr. Sargent, you're live on the air.
All right, sir. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for taking my call. So, Mr. Campbell, I'm going to direct my question at you because you're a little closer to the team than I am. Take you back a couple of years, coming out of the 2022 season, actually after the first couple of games, Scotty said a phrase that I thought was really interesting. He said, the only team that can beat FAMU is FAMU. And what he meant by that, or what I interpreted that he meant by that was the only team that could beat FAMU is FAMU administration, the way they messed up those young men and their being able to get out there on the field, or they have these self-inflicted wounds of what we saw with the Jackson State game that year. As we look into the 2024 season, do you believe we're at that space where really the only teams we need to be afraid of is really us and then potential administration? Because we're going to probably get a president change, and just want to get your view on, will that have any impact on the team? And are we at the point where, boy, the only people that can really mess us up is us if we do things to shoot ourselves in the foot? That's it.
Well,
thank you, brother.
Well, I want Coach Cole to understand this. FAMU has an advantage, a home court, because we're in the state of Florida. There's a lot of talented players in the state of Florida. And these guys go off to these Power 5 schools. It doesn't work out. And now FAMU has gotten to a level where they want to come to FAMU. That's talent. That's the reason why we have been consistent over the last couple of years. So I'm not worried about the administration. I'm not worried about the AD, because we are still recruiting at a very high level. Kids want to come to FAMU. We turn down kids from other schools in the SWAC because we had so much talent. Quay Davis just left FAMU to go to Southern. So he probably saw that wide receiver room and said, I'm probably not going to play here. So that lets you know how much talent that we have. So yeah, so I'm just being honest. Quay Davis has gone to Southern. He was at FAMU. We are deep at receiver from my understanding and everything. So again, when you're looking at that, yeah, but you still got to play the games. You still got to play games. But my point of it is, when you have a level of confidence of being able to win close games, have been together, and say, you know, to Coach Cole's point, he said, hey, Willie will dial up, or Rocky, you said it. But you know what? Also, those players say, hey, man, we've been in this situation before. Everybody relax. Everybody calm down. That means something for a championship team. So that's the reason what my point is, and that's the reason why I keep saying that.
Yeah, and I go back to what I said about FAMU was this. You know, FAMU has that bullet on their back now, and that bullseye on their back. And without Willie, how are they going to navigate that? In essence, this is what I'm thinking, Coach, is that this is going to be tougher this year to win the SWAC than it was last year with Willie, for the simple fact that they are hunted. They were the hunters last year. They wanted that championship really bad. Now that Jackson State and Dion had moved on, Jackson State was no longer viable without Dion. And so they felt like it was theirs to lose, and they played like that. This year, with them being the hunted, I just don't think that coaching staff, with all that turnover, is prepared, will have those players prepared for this repeat season. It's often said in sports, repeating is twice as more difficult than actually winning the first championship. And
well, are we the 100? Are we the 100 when you guys got us number 2 and number 3 behind Alabama State, Jackson State? Are we really the 100? See, that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Are we really the 100? Because people said this team can't win. So that's, again, we're not preseason projected.
Just slow down for a minute. You do have a target on your show, because you won a championship last year. Like you said, these are the defending championships. I played against Florida A&M back in the 90s. They've been great since then. I've seen them long ago. They've always had great athletes. They also had great coaches. And Coach Cozy is not proven yet. He can have a great team. Give me a program over talent every day. So just be careful about, they do have talent. I mean, they're sitting right there in Florida A&M. Everybody recruit Florida. Go ahead, Coach.
Hey, caller, you're live on the air. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yo, this is Sam KJ, man. I was calling in. What's up, Snake?
What up, KJ? What up, brother?
All right. Check this out. I want to ask the panel this right here. 2 things. Is there a FAMU bias in that we are the defending champions, right? So Alcorn can actually have the exact same thing as far as the turnover in which we had new coach, everything, and they get voted number 1, and they came in second, right? Over Prairie View. FAMU has the same thing, and we still get voted number 2. And that's telling me that seems like that's some bias going on. But hey, that's cool because that's
hold up. No, but let me address that bias, right? So you think the situation in the West is equal to the situation in the East, competition-wise?
What I'm saying is,
that's all I'm asking. No, I'm just asking you the question.
Because not one time have we said Alcorn gonna win the whole thing. If Alcorn was on the East, they liable to be 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
that's what we say.
So what I'm saying is, it's all about where you in this situation. Matter of fact, there could be an argument that if Bethune-Cookman was over there on the West, they would be vying for. I'm sure Coach Mr. Campbell would make that argument that Bethune-Cookman could be the champions of the West. You know what I mean? Considering the situation over in the West. But the fact of the matter is, Alcorn plays in the West, right? They have to compete against the teams in the West. And based on what they have to compete directly against, they are predicted to win the championship by me and Coach Cole, not by Mr. Campbell.
Right. Let me say this. Well, if Florida A&M play Alcorn, Florida A&M win.
The media voted on that too, right?
Yeah, the media voted them number 1 in the West.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, is that the media gave them number 1 over Prairie View, who is the defending champion that has just as much talent returning.
They don't have a quarterback.
So how does FAMU?
Prairie View doesn't have an established quarterback.
transfer coming.
They don't have an
They got a
established
transfer
quarterback.
coming in from Houston. Yeah, supposed to be this 4-star coming from Houston.
Does he have any
That's
game
supposed to be
footage?
this top.
Does he have any game footage?
Okay. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Let me just get this other part in here. And this is going to be kind of controversial, but listen to me now. Now, again, Willie is hands down one of the greatest coaches that has come through Florida A&M in a long, long time. But I will say this much. One of the things that we had an issue with that I think is going to be very critical to Cozy is that as talented as we were not disciplined. This was an issue that went on for years and years and years and years of a team that really felt like I can still be first and 20 after a holding call and still get the yardage and still be able to score. And we saw this over and over again that we had guys getting personal fouls, repeated stupid things that would cost us. Oftentimes, we were lucky enough to get away with it. But I think one of the things that Cozy will do, I think you saw for years, we led the conference in penalty yards constantly. If Cozy can cut that down, which I think he will do because he don't play the radio, if he can cut that down now, I think you're going to see a much better team and a team ready to play. Last year's team was so good, we often would just sleepwalk through games and then go, oh, okay, let's turn it on and go win. And it was totally uncalled for. I think Cozy is the kind of guy that would kind of go like, listen, if you don't play, I'm getting somebody else out and watch you. I think that's going to be a major difference in how FAMU approaches the season compared to knowing that, okay, Willie is an offensive-minded guy, but we were still too undisciplined and oftentimes kept teams around because of our sometimes lack of, we'll jump out on the team and then we'll just cruise. That's why you see sometimes we'll go a whole second half only scoring 10 points after we score, say, 25 in the first half. We just cruise. So I think you probably will, and that will make a major difference with Florida A&M. I'll hang up and listen to you guys off air.
Well, one of the things, Rocky, Coach Campbell, he hadn't got Cozy on our show, so we really don't know what's.
Hey, man, we haven't been on. Listen, we're back, so we might have Coach Cozy on next week. See that? We might have Coach Cozy on next week.
That he's a Florida guy, and from he coached over in Florida, and he got on that staff, and we kind of know, his track record, but we don't know his philosophy as a head coach. So that's why we're saying the things and making comments. But none of them have never been negative to say that he can't do it, But we do know the talent there. We do know he had a great recruiting class to come in. So all those things was in part of why they were picked number 2.
Let me ask you guys this. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm addressing this comment right here. Have the last 4 SWAC championships come out of the East?
5, because Alcorn was in the East.
Say that again. This guy's saying that we're saying that the West is better. Did he watch any of the SWAC championship game? Jackson State and Prairie View wasn't even no contest. Jackson State is Southern. It wasn't even no contest. I don't understand. I don't understand that. When you look at the numbers say the same thing. Did you see the time that when 3 of the teams, Southern, Texas Southern, Prairie View, they all was in the mix, and they lost to Mississippi Valley, who was the worst team in the conference and one of the worst teams at that time in the nation, and they lost to them going in the last 2 seasons. And then
definitely the worst team in the East, right?
Yeah. And then they get in the championship game and only cross the 50-yard line one time. Who is this guy?
SPV, big PV alum, had a brand new baby going to go to Prairie View, has a podcast. But Coach, let me
call in and try to stand by them words.
No, what I'm thinking is, so the reason why I brought it up, it wasn't to the fact of the matter is the West has the recent history of winning the SWAC, right? When you talk about now, I've only been watching the SWAC 4 years, right? I don't think Jackson State has lost to a West team since I've been watching. I don't think FAMU has lost to a West team since I've been watching, right? And I think Alabama State lost to Alcorn and maybe PV, twice, once each time.
Right.
So what I'm saying is there is a dominance there. And I don't see how he can't see that there's a dominance there by the West. Even by just championships alone,
Alcorn
there's a recent dominance there.
Right. Grambling has fell off, and they used to be a much stronger team, So, the West, the East is the stronger of the two, consistently.
Rocky, let me make this point, and I think people got to understand something. We got a lot of Prairie View people in this chat. I know all of them. They're big Prairie View fans. But they feel this is their year. They want you all to put some respect on their name. They feel they look like I said they looked at the schedule, they looked at the teams. All the teams are down in the West, other than Alcorn. If you just being honest with you, and they're looking at it, they're saying, "Hey, we should win." So they're counting these numbers, they're counting these wins, and they're also looking at the schedule, saying, "Hey, FAMU comes up. If we can get that game, because it's late this season at our home, we should win at least 8 games." So I understand the enthusiasm, but here's the thing, PV guys, you gotta prove it, and that's why a lot of people want to see it. So my thing is, I did find it interesting. I understood what FAMU KJ was saying about the same thing. How can Alcorn be picked with a new coach compared to Prairie View, who has a coach that has won conference championships? They have been to the SWAC championship game twice, 2 out of the last 3 years. So that's what it is. Yeah, go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry. I definitely don't want to take it over.
No, go. I'm sorry. I was just going to wait till you were finished because I'm going to give them some numbers.
Yeah.
You can't get respect when you finish number 9 in offense in the conference. You can't get respect when you're averaging 19.5 points a game. Come on. You got Florida averaging 30, A&M 29, Jackson State 27. This is all on the West Side. You know what I'm saying? You can't get respect like that. You can't get respect giving up 31 points a game. This last year now, Coach. This last year. You gave up 31 points a game. You can't, and I'm not trying to degrade you, but if I'm a betting man, Rocky, I'm not gonna go to the thing and I'm putting 100 on Prairie View, they're gonna win. Not with these numbers. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm trying to look for
they got a big jump to do.
And I'm looking for this quarterback from Houston. Certainly Houston didn't let go of Donovan Smith, and now he's playing for Prairie View. Now, if Donovan Smith, the starting quarterback at Houston, University of Houston, if he's playing for Prairie View, that changes things. Is that who you guys have now?
Now, my understanding, they starting quarterback left, and now he's playing at Miles College, I think. He transferred to Miles.
So who did you guys get from the University of Houston, PV? Because if you guys got Donovan Smith, this guy is ranked in a mock draft. Would he have went from Houston, University of Houston, to PV?
With all that money out there? Come on.
I think the kid is Lucas Coley. I think that's the kid, Lucas Coley.
Okay. All right.
Well, you got to get them numbers up, for us to talk good about you. Now we talk about the numbers and all that. Our heart ain't in this. Maybe Coach Campbell, maybe a little bit. No. Again, we talk numbers.
I think you can make the argument based on coaching pedigree and consistency that Prairie View has a chance to win the West. But if I'm picking the team who had a plan during their coaching transfer where the first day of signing day, they were able to sign 25 athletes on the first week of signing day, right?
Well,
Early signing period.
Well, can I talk about the numbers from last year?
Sure.
They got one team that was up there where they had two. They had Grambling and they had Texas Southern. And we all know Texas Southern was averaging 26 points and Grambling was averaging 28. All right. After that, it was down. But you look at Alcorn, they averaged 22.4. Okay. Defensively wise, Alcorn was ranked number 4, 22.5. So Coach said Thomas, he's taking over a program that he's been a part of that's right there. They right there. You know what I'm saying? So you got to go by the numbers as well as the pedigree of these coaches.
Again, I'm not saying, okay, PV versus everybody. I'm not saying that you guys didn't Prairie View, and again, my daughter goes to Prairie View, so I don't have any animus toward Prairie View at all. I'm gonna owe them some money in a few weeks. So, but my point,
Prairie View people are good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, you guys have met my most successful friends in life are Prairie View grads and doing very well for themselves. And if I ever needed anything, they'd be first people I'd ask. But anyway, that's beside the point.
You know how to do it big, Coach. I followed them in 2009 to the SWAC championship game, and we was at the hotel, man. They sold the bar out. The bar just closed up. Wasn't nothing else there to drink. They had they treated old Coach Cole good, Coach.
I wish Prairie View culture supported football outside of homecoming. But that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But here's my point about Prairie View is that Prairie View was void of a quarterback, an established quarterback. I can't personally pick a team, right, that has struggled at quarterback. I'm talking about they struggled at quarterback, right? Even when they had returning guys, Juwan Pass, even when they had returning guys like Conley. Right? Even when they struggle with those guys, I can't choose Prairie View without them having an established quarterback. Do y'all hear that?
Yeah, we do hear that feedback.
That's me.
Okay. I can't choose them knowing that situation. So that's why I defer to Alcorn, who had a quarterback on the roster that played last year, that's coming back. I expect them to win a very down West.
I want my band PV. Why don't you call it? See, this is the thing, Prairie View people. Hey, man, stand on your business. If get off the chat, the number's 254-300-6330. Call in and tell those guys, because I picked Prairie View to win the West. Tell those two guys why they're wrong. Because again, I like what I'm seeing from Prairie View. I like the fan engagement. I like that. Man, they are all in these chats. They're watching all these shows, and all they're going back and saying, "We've been disrespected. We've been disrespected. We've been disrespected." Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. But the bottom line is, and what Coach Cole is saying is, there's things that he said that, hey, Alcorn has answered the bell. They've answered the question. Now, can you guys answer? But again, my thing is, I agree with you guys because I think the schedule sets up for you to all to win the West. That's my thing. I think the schedule sets up.
And I'm gonna answer you. I'm gonna answer PV versus everybody. Who is Alcorn QB's quarterback? Rocky, the same guy who beat Jackson State last year. That's who their quarterback is.
Yeah. Again, when you look at the numbers,
the same guy who beat Jackson State. And what did Jackson State finish in the West?
In the East.
In the East, mean.
In the East.
They were second, right? They were three.
They were third. They're behind Alabama State. FAMU, Alabama State, and Jackson State.
They were three. Yeah. But come on now, they got a guy. They have a guy.
You know, when you look at the stats on defense, let's just talk about the bottom half. Pine Bluff, last, East. Texas Southern, last, East. Grambling State, 9, East. Alabama A&M, West, Mississippi Valley, East. West. There you go. All of them except but Alcorn is the one that put numbers up. So, hey,
I'm just letting y'all know the PV folks are gonna be they are clipping this and they're gonna be back here week 12 of the season. I'm just letting you know.
We're good, good, and then let them subscribe, and we're gonna be all right.
And hit that like button.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely, Coach. Before we get out of here, I want to ask y'all these two questions. What did you guys think about Miles Crawley being named the potential offensive player of the year from Grambling? I have my thoughts, but I'd like to really hear what you guys think.
Well, I mean, he was transferring in.
No, he was there last year, Coach.
Yeah, no. I'm saying he transferred. Then he came in, and he done some great things. I had a chance to watch him. I think he was one of the top quarterbacks last year. Statistically wise as well. He does a lot of great things. He can extend plays and make things happen. They bringing in a new system, Coach Dooley's system. Talking with Coach Mickey Joseph, I think they got the system from LSU. So I think he had the numbers. I think Coach Dooley is known in the conference as being a great offensive minded guy, and I know Coach Joseph because he worked for me at Alabama State, which is the head coach. So I look for all those things were positive in making him the number one choice or the preseason choice.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rocky.
No, go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
Well, I told everybody when this before, I said Miles Crawley, because of almost default also, that he was going to be the preseason SWAC player, offensive player of the year and the first team, because we don't have returning quarterbacks. So that kind of helps him out. He returned. He did numbers. So again, what I'm just very interested in is because he has that, I think that gives Grambling a great position. Again, that Jackson State game is not a conference game. So even if they lose that game, it doesn't hurt them. I think Grambling is set up really well to make a run. That game in Dallas is going to me really determine what's going to happen in the West.
But really, it's been happening that way anyway for the last couple of years. It's either Prairie View or Grambling, and whoever win that game usually, go and Alcorn kind of fell off the last 2 years. And one reason because Texas Southern kept beating Alcorn. I think they don't beat them 3 years in a row. So and that kind of hurt Alcorn each time they have beat them and knocked them out of the top two. So it's been Prairie View, Southern, and Grambling.
Well, the issue I have with it is simply this. The SWAC player of the year the last 4 years I've been watching has been on the conference championship team. And if that's the history, and you guys have explained to me, that's pretty much the history of this conference, that the quarterback who is the best quarterback generally is the championship quarterback for all intents and purposes.
Same as the head coach.
Right? With Grambling predicted to finish third or fourth in the West. I don't see how Miles Crawley has a chance at winning the player of the year. Considering that.
Well, him pick, that's just our predictions. And of course, our predictions is not going to line up with some people who's a Grambling night or Alcorn night or A&M night. Of course, all of it's opinionated, and we will see what happens. A couple of years ago when Texas Southern was scoring but giving up 40 and 50 points a game, the kid had a great year throwing the football, but they lost all the games. So I think it's a lot of variables in that. I see where you're going with that, Rocky. I think you have a valuable point, but we'll see, man. Sometimes guys that make preseason do not make the conference, all conference teams.
And that's why I'm saying, well, we know due to certain rules, Andrew Body wasn't a viable option for Player of the Year or All Conference. Because he's a transfer, coaches couldn't vote for him. This, that, other. From what I understand, Coach Campbell, Mr. Campbell, if that's correct.
Yeah, it's injury. He couldn't because of injury. He couldn't be voted on the All SWAC team because of injury. He didn't have enough. They have a snap count.
And I want to just make it clear too. Andre Body is in perfect health. He could have finished last year playing at Texas Southern. It's a lot behind that as well. You know what I'm saying? Because he's that type of kid, that could come back from that. He don't have a problem working out and doing the things that's right off the field as well as on the field. So, we don't want to send that wrong message out that, he gets hurt or he's a injury prone guy. I mean, I seen the kid take a beating and still got up and played. I seen him play against Baylor, quote unquote Division 1A, and was a monster. Matter of fact, he came in that game and did a lot of great things. As a young
right here in Waco.
Yeah. So I I don't want to put that out there, that he's an injured guy. That's not fair to the kid.
Hey, we got a caller. Caller, you're live on air. What's your name and where you calling from? Hello?
He ran. I must have answered this question.
Are you there, caller?
I'm here, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
TV versus Morgan, the 14th, 2024. It's the Celebration Bowl. So just go ahead and book it.
Oh, PV versus. Hey, man, if you go to Las Vegas between now and the beginning of the season and you place $100 on that, you make it win you $1 million. You hear me?
Maybe. I don't, but you know what I'm saying? But that would happen. But yeah. Hey, listen, I know that Coach Cole, I know there's animosity within it, so I don't understand. Texas Southern ain't sniffed TV a long time. So I understand Coach Cole, you know what I'm saying? I'm with you, Cole. Hey, it is what it is, right? You just hoping and wishing that Texas Southern can do something against the Panthers. Not gonna happen, but I understand where you're coming from, right? You know what I mean? Now I don't get Rocky. You know what I mean? I don't understand what Rocky's talking about because you said that. What was the reason that you had Alcorn over PV again?
The reason why I said it because I was mistaken about them having their quarterback returning. They just have a guy returning that had some snaps last year. The guy who beat Jackson State is not returning, so I've been corrected on that. But I'm looking at. We had a conversation right here on the show with Coach Thomas, and after that show, they executed a plan on National Signing Day that was pretty impressive. They got some really good talent in the fold. And so I just think they had an overall better offseason than most schools in the SWAC. And with you guys losing the quarterback that I thought you guys had returning that was pretty good, PV needs a quarterback, and we just have to. It's a wait and see kind of thing.
What do you like about our quarterback previously that we had?
That when he came in the game in the SWAC championship, he was able to move the ball when Conley wasn't. And I was at the game.
What quarterback are you talking about right now?
Number 16.
He's a receiver.
I'm telling you, he played quarterback against FAMU.
I know who you're talking about. I mean, I know exactly who you're talking about. He is a receiver, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's a different conversation, right? He's not even a quarterback, not a backup quarterback. He's an emergency quarterback, which is what he was in that FAMU game, in the championship game, right? So that's not at all that you will see at quarterback. That's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So listen, my thing, if you like Coach Thomas, if you appreciate Coach Thomas's personality, hey, listen, you got a lot of stuff going on in Alcorn. Just say that. That is what it is, right? That is what it is. I know Alcorn, man, they got pedigree because of what I've seen them do before. Then they had Fred there, right? They had it rolling before. Listen, just say that, right? But all the other stuff y'all be talking about, y'all just, to be honest, y'all just be talking. All right? That just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just making it clear, that's what it is. I don't have a problem with people picking whoever they're going to pick because really, for me, it don't matter, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I already know what's about to happen anyway. But at the end of the day, my thing is like say what y'all saying and pick Alcorn based on reality, right? Not based on, oh, they got this great QB. They ain't, what QB y'all talking about? Because Aaron Allen ain't there. He gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so who are y'all even talking about, right? Most of the people that I'm hearing even talking about, TV ain't got no quarterback, can't tell me nothing about Alcorn quarterback, right?
Malcolm
so again,
Tyler,
that can't be the reason. Right?
Malcolm Tyler's still there. What do you mean?
Who? Say again?
Tyler Malcolm is still there. The backup quarterback from last year.
I'm happy you can Google research, right? You know what I'm saying? But listen, nobody can tell me nothing about Tyler Maker. You feel me? That's all I'm trying to say.
No, but
nobody can tell me.
He's played. What are you talking about?
How many snaps he had?
If I'm not mistaken, he played this past year, and the year before.
Again, how many snaps he had in Missouri? How many snaps he had at Alcorn?
But now, I don't think nobody on this. I hope nobody on this show said that Alcorn was going to win because of their quarterback. Didn't nobody say that? We talked about the coach. We talked about how he has been in that program, and that program has been steady. He's been a part of it. If you know about Coach Thomas, he's one of the best recruiters in the conference. You can ask the other coaches. They ain't got to Google. I talked to other guys. So none of us made an assessment on Alcorn because of a quarterback. None of us have said that.
Listen, Coach Cole, all I'm doing is asking y'all the same questions based on what y'all are putting out there. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm just asking apples to apples. Coach Thomas has been there. Where Bubba been? He been at Prairie View for longer than Sayre been at when Sayre was crying at UAPB. Prairie View, right? You know
are you comparing those programs?
I'm comparing what y'all was talking about. Y'all talking about the continuing program, pregnant about continuing program, right? Like you talking about not knowing what the quarterback is. You telling me you know who Alcorn and what they got at quarterback. Like all I'm saying is that's the reason I'm picking it. That's the only point I'm making, right? Pick them because you're saying, man, I just believe Alcorn's pedigree. Because that's really what it is. That's the truth, right? It's not because this quarterback that they got versus TV, I don't know what they got. Y'all know nobody got a quarterback. That's the reality.
Who is PV's quarterback? My question. I'm still asking that question.
Yeah, I already told you who I think PV's quarterback is. I think it's Cam Peters. That's the guy who I think going to start. That's me, right? Other people like Lucas Cole. So again, it's going to be a QB competition, but for me, Cam Peters has time on the field. So you're talking about time on the field. Macon ain't got the time on the field that Peters got, right? You know what I'm saying? He got live to game snaps, right? You know what I'm saying? So you can't beat that at the end. So I am with you on that. But Tyler Macon ain't got that. That's just the reality. He ain't got that. You know what I'm saying? So that is what it is. But again, the other thing I was saying is East versus West. Y'all just need to state it like it is. FAMU was the best.
Hey, bro, are you on speakerphone or something? Because we can't understand
you. Yeah, you Muslim.
I got my headphones on because I'm eating my baby, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm multitasking. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was saying state it like it is, right? FAMU was the best team in the conference. That has nothing to do with the East versus the West. Right? Jackson was the best team in the conference. That has nothing to do with the East versus the West, right? That's the reality of the situation because when you actually look at the actual numbers of the games between both sides, like at the end of the day, last year it was even East versus West. The two teams after FAMU, Jackson and Alabama State, they lost to the top two teams in the West. So how can we sit up here and just say, oh, the East is just better? No. FAMU was better than everybody else. That's actuality, right?
We agreeing with you. We said that the West was better than the East. I mean, the East is better than the West.
No, that's not what Rocky said, Coach.
Yeah, the East is better than the West. FAMU, Jackson, Alabama A&M have won all the recent championships. What are you talking about?
Again, so what I'm saying is we're talking about you can come and say, and what I can agree with is that the top team in these years, right, has been from the East. What I'm not going to agree with is to say, like how back in the to say, oh, the Western Conference is better than the Eastern Conference, right? You know, that type of argument, right? That's just not true. Because again, if you go game for game, team for team, it's like, no, it's just that they had the top team in the conference those years. That's the end all be all.
Well, hold on. Let's get more to the point. So, Lionel, how about this? Tell us why Prairie View is going to win the West and why they're going to be SWAC champions. Let's forget who's better in the East or West. Talk about your team. What are you guys going to hang your hat on to be the Western Conference champions, the Western Division champions, and the SWAC champions? What do you guys have?
I like that, right? So let's get to it. One, first and foremost, right? I like the numbers that Coach Cole pulled up. I agree with you on all those numbers, first and foremost, right? We averaged literally 19 points a game. We had to work. We were the most unbalanced team all last year, right? All last year, 65% run, 35% pass. And the makeup of the team, it wasn't that we didn't have the receivers. It's not that we didn't have the playmakers to go make plays on the outside. No, it was a scheme. That's the end all be all throughout the year. We're looking and saying, man, how we continue to do the same thing, right? I mean, we know what's coming, so we can imagine everybody else. I know Coach Cole and all the coaches everywhere know what's coming too. Because if we as fans know what's coming, then we ain't doing nothing to help our situation. So first and foremost, right, what we did is we went out and got an actual proven offensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? That's number one, first and foremost.
So Coach
right?
we're talking about Coach Wheaton, right? We're talking about Coach Anthony Wheaton, right?
Yes, we're talking about Coach Anthony Wheaton, right? We went out and got an actual offensive coordinator. What's the past five? The actual offensive coordinator that's done it. You know what I'm saying? Not just a guy who's done it in the SWAC or in the MEAC or HBCU ball. This is a guy who's done it in the CEA. This is a guy who's done it in, I think Big South, right? You know what I'm saying? So this is a guy who won an award for his play call, for putting his team as playmakers in the best position, right? So, and he's a guy who's balanced, right? You look at what he did each year, 52, 48, 49, 51, right? So he's going to bring balance. So when you mention a guy like Shamar Savage, for example, you realize last year, this guy only had 29 targets. Most people across the board would say, man, Shamar Savage is one of those guys. How you only give him the ball 20 times, right? How you only throw him the ball 29 times is just crazy in the first place, right?
Time out, Coach.
Hey, that coach still there?
Time out. Let's talk about Coach Bubba McDowell.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about his philosophy. And when I say talk about, I ain't saying talk negative. Coach McDowell is a quiet guy, his demeanor, right? He likes to keep the game close to his vest. He want to let the defense win the game because he's a defensive style coach. Can you agree with me? He's going to run the football. You understand? So hopefully this coordinator y'all come in, his style and Bubba McDowell's style could gel. Because sometimes when defensive coaches let the offensive coach run and he's turning that ball over, it's going to be a talk on Monday or on Sunday about trying to slow it up. And you got to have a trigger man. So yeah, the coordinator can be good. Don't get me wrong. And he can win some awards. But if he ain't got no trigger man, he's got to do what his trigger man do the best. So right now, we're saying we got a great offensive coordinator, but our trigger man is a little suspect. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree. One, this is my thing, right? The first thing I'm going to say is you guys are saying we got a trigger man. This is the reality, right? Just say, I don't know if PD got a quarterback. That would be more accurate, right?
No. So I'm asking you, tell us about the quarterback. Okay, so you said, hey, Mr. Campbell, we've upgraded our OC. Now let's talk about the quarterback. So tell us why we should have confidence in your quarterback.
I got you, but Mr. Campbell, let me also make this point clear though, because I want to correct it, right? I want to come. You talk about being truthful all the time, right? I'm saying this is what's true. The truth is, y'all are saying PV don't have a quarterback, but y'all obviously haven't even looked into what PV had. Y'all don't know what PV even had in the room to say, man, I looked at this guy, I looked at this guy, I don't like him. See, that's a whole different conversation, Mr. Campbell, right?
We're conceding. No, listen, we're conceding your point. We don't know Prairie View, you do. So now I'm asking you the question again. Tell us who's in the quarterback room that you're excited about that Coach Wheaton is going to make him a player to win the West. Let's go.
I already told you the guy that I think, right? And again, I think Lucas Kohler has such a live arm, right? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Obviously, he has no film. For me, I see you guys. I see him just like you guys see him. It's like, man, at the end of the day, coming from FBS, you coming from great programs, but man, you ain't got no film at the end of the day, right? That's just hard to lean on until you see it, right? That's not the guy I'm leaning on, right? The guy that I've seen that I say, man, I see what he's done, right? He has film that, you know, anybody go look up is Cam Peters, right? And the numbers he put up, again, 33 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's good on any level, right? You know what I'm saying? So the guy who takes care of the ball, the guy who gets the ball to his playmakers.
Is that the guy from Campbell?
No. The running back is from Campbell. He's coming from Kilgore, JUCO. So again, the number 2 guy is in pass efficiency in JUCO. You know what I'm saying? Last year. So, you know, it's a guy who makes guys more efficient, right? Go back and look at Heisman League numbers when he was at Campbell. Right. Go back and look at his numbers at before, because when you look at the completion percentage and how he puts guys in position, right, to keep the ball moving, right? That's the one thing I love, right? Is when you look at our offense last year in comparison and what the style that Whedon brings, right? You know, it's just way more efficient. I just love the style of offense that he's going to be bringing. You know what I mean? So to me, when you pair those two things together, you know, to me that gives you an opportunity to chance for people to make a lot of noise, right? Again, what we did last year was based on 19 points a game, and we gave up 31, but we won the West. First of all, them numbers sound crazy in the first place.
Hey, we're gonna let Coach Cole have the last word on this one. I appreciate you calling in, Lon.
Put the prediction.
No problem.
What do you have, Coach?
I said put the predictions real quick.
Okay, I will.
Please put them up.
There you go.
Prairie View, Rocky, you got them 2. Coach got them 2. All right. You got them number 1. What are we talking about here?
You know, this is the beautiful thing, Coach. This is the beautiful thing. We got him ranked number 2, and he's not satisfied, right? But guess what? Right. They got Alcorn, and Prairie View has a date scheduled, don't
That's
they?
Right.
They have a date scheduled. We won't have to wonder about this. We won't have to speculate. We won't have to guess. One day it'll all be sorted out in the SWAC.
And let me say this too, and hopefully he's still listening. I would not be sitting in this chair if I didn't coach great quarterbacks. Sometimes I'll call plays and they made them work and they made them happen. So when you start talking about a quarterback coming in the first time and the offensive coordinator coming in the first time, it ain't no magic, believe me, because they got to get to know each other. And believe me, every guy that I worked with, we were together at least for 2 years before we start putting up major numbers. There's only one kid, a kid named Derek Singleton, that actually transferred to a school that I was at, put up numbers, 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 2,900 yards in 9 games. So it takes some players. When you talk about a trigger man, you talk about he coming in and he just gonna blow everything up. That ain't happening.
And Coach, let's look at this. By that measure, Miles Crawley and the Grambling Tigers should be listed as the number one teams in the West if we took that. But the fact of the matter is, not only do players matter, but coaches matter. And you take the same coach that was literally ranked last in offense, right? As a head coach, you make him the offensive coordinator at Grambling, and you think you're going to get. And when you truly assess it, how can you take a guy who was had one of the worst offenses in the SWAC, becomes the offensive coordinator at Grambling, right? A team that also struggled last year, and you expect that team, the guy who couldn't get it done at one school, to get it done at another. All those things matter. All those things matter. It's not just one thing. It's not just the quarterback, PV. It's not just the quarterback, Lionel.
Yeah, I think a lot of times guys get caught up in, which is good. You know, they get caught up in the support. You know, I'm a Prairie View guy, and I'm a Panther, and I'm a Tiger, and we get caught. You know, we three, you know, we try to go with the facts that we know. You know what I mean? And you know, and it's our opinion. You know, so you know, we don't want to attack him because you know opinions ain't wrong or right. They just opinions. So appreciate him calling in. I hope he continue to watch our show and continue to call in.
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned QBs because Prairie View, I had no idea. The guy I thought was going to succeed, Conley at quarterback, I read that he had left and no longer was on the roster.
Right.
And I seen him get busy against FAMU. You could say he was a wide receiver. You could say whatever. He was a emergency quarterback. But then we watched the game, Mr. Campbell. He was able to move the ball when the starting quarterback who played the whole season wasn't able to move the ball against the best defense, hands down, in the SWAC. Right? That's why I thought PV could have had a chance. But after looking over the situation and finding out that PV didn't have an established quarterback on the roster, I couldn't pick him to win the West. I just couldn't.
Well, you neither. Well, I don't think anything's wrong with you all's prediction. Again, the SWAC ADs and SIAD and coach, whoever votes, they picked Alcorn also. So you have to give some credence. So that's why I asked him. See, this is the thing why I want this show to be. If you're going to say my team is going to win, right? Tell me why your team is going to win. Don't say, I hope it's our time or whatever. I can tell you, in my opinion, why I think Jackson State, FAMU, Alabama State, Grambling, and why I pick Prairie View, not because of what he said, is because I think the schedule lines up for them to win based off how the West is set up and the teams that they have to play. Right. I think the teams are so close in the West, I think home field advantage will make a difference. And that's why I said the Grambling Prairie View game is going to mean something, because Miles Crawley can go to Dallas and light them up and say, hey, we only got to win one more game and we win the West. So there you go.
And then when you're talking about balancing the East versus the West, the numbers speak for themselves. You know, the champion has been coming out of the West every time, whether they be Prairie View, whether they be Southern, whether they be UAPB when A&M beat UAPB during the COVID spring league. The West, the East has been winning the championship.
And Grambling, I believe, won it the last time. And that was in, 2016, 2017?
Yeah,
like
16 and 17. They won 16, 17.
Yeah. Now, Alcorn, I think before they started splitting it up, they won one, I think, want to say in 18.
Well, Alcorn won, because this is all the Celebration Bowl time, right? Alcorn won, then Grambling won back-to-back, then Alcorn went back-to-back.
Right.
That's how it was.
Okay.
Then Jackson State won 2 and then us.
That's been 10 years ago. 8 to 10 years ago.
So basically, the only team in the West that has won as they were properly positioned was Grambling the 2 years that they won, and they were from the West, because Alcorn was in the East during those other times.
Right.
And by those numbers, I think anybody can say there's a disparity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In championships, you know,
it ain't personal.
No, not at all.
Well, I just want the Prairie View people to answer the question. He said, "Hey, and with your coach, I think you made a valid point, and I love what you said. You're projecting something we don't know. You like your offensive coordinator. You like the potential quarterback he's going, because he said, I like this guy, but this guy. So there's a lot of ambiguity there. And like you say, you get one guy, and then if it doesn't click, then we're in trouble. So I think, Coach, let's go back to the point, like you said, I've coached this. This is why I know this is important. That's why, and Coach, guess what? I'm going to say it again. That's why I keep talking about continuity. Continuity is important to win a championship.
Yes.
And he's talking about the guy from Campbell, right? The guy from Campbell, he ain't win no championships.
Now, I think he said he's the running back.
No. I think the offensive coordinator, isn't he from Campbell?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, he did come from Campbell. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he did come from Campbell.
He from Campbell. So he ain't won nothing. You know.
He lost to Jackson State. 7-6, 16-8, something like that.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to call the head coach and get a word. I know the head coach over at Campbell.
No, like I say, man, people are serious about their teams. That's one thing we're finding. Like, these are all predictions, guys. The good thing about this will all be settled on the field, fellas. and ladies and gentlemen. This will be settled on the field.
Right.
We'll be proven right or wrong. Last year, I was proven right in the fact that I picked FAMU to win the SWAC. This year, right? We'll come back in a later show before the season kicks off, and we'll pick the SWAC champion. We have to get through, we have to see a little more before we pick the SWAC champion. But you guys pretty much know it's probably going to come out the West no matter what.
Out the East.
Out the East, my bad. Out the East.
All right.
Out the East, man. You got anything? Hey, Coach, Mr. Campbell, you got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Hey, man, this is what you're going to see. Great talk, great analysis all season. We're going to do it in a respectful way. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We want you guys to call in. And we will always do our best to know what we're talking about, making sure we give you accurate information, because this is what this is all about on this show with Coach Cole on the Coach's Corner.
All right, Coach, you got anything to say? You take us on out here every day, man.
Yeah, well, I don't want to forget the memory of Jacoby Jones, who was a great kid, a great man, and a great father. He was the only player in years of football to get drafted third round to the Baltimore Ravens. Anytime that he was around you, he brought joy and fun and prosperity. He was a very likable guy. Me knowing him, he lived his life 100. And he was the epitome of live each day if it's your last. And that was his style. But we can learn from that as well. Black men, make sure you're going to get checkups. And I'm not saying Jacoby did, but make sure you go get checkups. Listen to your body. You know what I mean? We need to do more of that. Don't think that we're macho men, because we're not. I understand that when the man upstairs calls your number, it's your number. You could be in a steel box 6 feet down, but you also can rush it as well. So I think it's black men to make sure that you get your checkups every 6 months, your colonoscopy, make sure you get your blood pressure checked, and listen to your body. If you're getting tired and your chest is tight, or you're feeling tingling in your arms, go get a checkup and make sure you tell somebody, and make sure you be open. We got to quit being so closed mouths about our health. As black men, I got 8 brothers. We got a text that we text each other, and we talk about those things. Prostate. I've had brothers with prostate cancer. I have brothers with kidney taken out. I have, we talk about those things because we don't want to wake up and then you in stage 4, when something you could have handled. With all the new technology and medical stuff that they have out there now, it ain't like, when I was start off in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. Man, there's so much out there now that if you catch these things earlier, you can prolong your life. So as black men, let's learn. Jacoby died at 40 years old, and he died in his sleep. So I don't know what was behind it, and I'm not saying that. I just want to get that off my chest because I know I got friends that I talk to all the time, and those are things that we talk about that's very important. Get with somebody that you can trust to talk about your health. Once again, listen to yourself. Listen to your body. As I always say, if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot, because ain't nobody bad like you.